Staying busy?
No. Yes and no. Picked up a couple jobs this week.
You know, it's just like in my industry when I was in the, well, my son still is. It's like everybody knows that as soon as the frost comes out of the ground, they're gonna start going like crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody's calling.
Well, that's not the fact with us though. I mean, we don't really do it inside our roster.
No.
Yeah, no, it isn't.
But it's like the wait, and then just about March.
everybody?
Contact.
Call this meeting of the Woburn Lake Village Council to order, and we will start with the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Here.
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 Mr. President, we have word from Mr. Nagy that he has a family emergency and won't be able to attend tonight.
Motion to excuse Nagy from the meeting.
Motion Stack, second Duff. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item 4, correspondence. We have before us the opportunity to recognize a great idea. And we have a celebrity young entrepreneur, Alina Morse, as I think many of you know, the inventor of Zolly Pops, the sugar-free lollipop that is sweeping America. And Mr. Stack brought it to us. We all talked about it. We thought it was a great opportunity to learn a little bit more about this lollipop that has come up from our village, and to recognize the excellence of it. So, Alina, I think I might ask you to tell us all a little bit about your invention, and I think we need the microphone.
No?
Check.
That way you can move around a
I'm
little.
curious how she
Yeah.
made it. I mean,
So-
what she used for, sweetener?
Go ahead and tell us about
Hi, I'm Alina Morse. I'm 9 years old, and I'm the creator of Zolly Pops. Zolly Pops are a lollipop that clean your teeth. They're very unordinary, unlike any sucker that you've ever seen.
Well, excellent.
What was her first
Would you
name?
like some Zolly Pops?
We would love some
Sure.
Zolly Pops. You got a little something for us, and then I think we've got a little something for you.
All right, thank you. I'll have to take him to Dr. McNutt and see if he'll buy him, huh? All right.
Thank you, Lena.
Yeah, he can put him in his little
Thank you.
go bags.
I heard the pineapple were really good, so I think Oh, I can.
Honey, did you come up with the idea to start with it? That's fantastic. That's
Tell
really-
everybody the story of how you came up with the idea.
Yeah, we want to hear the story. Hold the microphone.
You can talk.
Well, I came up with the idea when I went to the bank with my dad one day, and the teller asked me if I wanted like an ordinary lollipop. And my dad always told me that I shouldn't eat candy because sugar is really bad for your teeth and your mouth. So on the car at home, I asked, why can't we make a healthy sucker that cleans your teeth and it's good for your mouth? And that's what we did.
Well, I bet you all the dentists in Michigan aren't happy with you. That's fantastic.
Dentist, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
And
Well, that's-
tell him how much money you did in sales. That's pretty darn impressive.
Last year, we made $70,000 for our company in sales.
Very cool.
We would like to recognize a lollipop that isn't bad for your teeth. That's a great idea, and so we present you with the Village of Wolverine Lakes Great Idea Award. So come on up here, and shake their hand, and we'll turn around and get a picture of you.
That's great. Very good.
Great job.
Say thank you.
Yeah, great presentation.
Congratulations.
They're good, too.
Keep up the good work, honey.
Really. Thank you.
Now, we have an early review from our treasurer.
On WJR.
All right.
Mr. Conduct, you're trying one right now. Give us a review.
They are superb, Mr. President, and, if you hadn't told me that they were sugar-free or not, there was some difference. They taste fine to me, they're great.
Is that the pineapple?
I think it is.
Flavors are not identified. I think that's pineapple.
It is, yeah.
All right,
Good
well,
job.
great.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
You're not going to make the poor girl sit through a meeting, are you?
No.
Aw, it's an excellent opportunity. Hey, look, if she can improve the lollipop, maybe she can learn something and improve our meeting, too.
Sweeten it up a little bit, so to speak.
We don't want her to have nightmares.
Okay, that does bring us to item 5, additions to business. Do we have any additions to business?
I have no additions to business.
All right, brings us to item 6, first call to the public, an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items. Mr. Malik. Let's get you a microphone.
Yeah, Bob Malik, 1620 Thurston. I just wanted to point out on the agenda item, bear with me a second, I got it all wrapped up here.
Oh, you're here.
Item 12K, okay, the MML natural gas program. I stopped by the office today and I picked up a copy of that, and I just wanted to point out a congratulations to the administrator, and also over and above that, our treasurer, Mike Condick, as to the work that he put in for this program. You know, we initiated it a couple years back, and it really seems to have benefited, and I know it's under one of your consent agenda items, but I just thought it should be spelled out of the job that was done in pursuing and following up all the pluses for the village in this item. It's the natural gas that's used here. That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And for those wondering, that program did save, I forget the exact number, but it was a couple $100 last year, and we expect it to save 600 or so over the length of that agreement over the next few years. So very nice, very nice cost savings, and the same darn gas. Anybody else? Seeing none, I will close the first call to the public, and we will move on to consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion Sikowitz, second Stack. Any further discussion? Actually, hearing none, I'll just go to a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. That will bring us to item 12A, reports and recommendations from Engineer Powell and Architect Donellan. We'll start with Mr. Powell, and I believe you've got items for us on several items, which I had noted down before.
I do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. This is just an update on the various projects going on in the village. An update on the South Commerce Road Pathway Bridge. If you recall, I, as your engineer, really advised that we should not put pilings down on that bridge for fear of potentially hitting the sanitary sewer line that is down below. I have designed a pier foundation, a 4x4 wood foundation that's going to be set. They're under construction right now, and the DPW has agreed to put it in their schedule to actually install those. It's going to save the village probably, the council authorized $5,000 for those footings. I'm expecting they're going to come in more like $1,000. So there's a fairly good savings on the bridge project. The bridge decking has been started, and it will be completed in about 3 weeks as well. And so I'm looking, by the time that the council meets at their next meeting, that bridge will be in. We also have designed and we have given the railing system to a manufacturer. We have contacted the specialized company that rolls that arch that's on the existing pathway, and they will be creating that, and then that arch will be presented to the contractor that's actually manufacturing the bridge itself. So it'll look very, very similar, if not exactly like the crossing here at the dam site. So I wanted to bring up the date on that. As you know, we have a project that's going to be tying into Glengarry Road up here, West Ridge project. They have not completed their construction drawings. They haven't been actually formally approved by Commerce Township yet. I have touched base with their engineer, They know that we're asking for accel, decel lanes and a passing lane, including with drainage to drain that section of the roadway. I have not had an opportunity to talk to them about the pathway, but Chief Ellsworth suggested, and it's a brilliant idea, to have the pathway stay along the north side of the roadway and tie into the pathway as it currently crosses where the Commerce Park is. If we can keep all that pedestrian traffic on that side of the road and cross at one location, then we are also going to ask them for a crossing signal. Chief Ellsworth has done the research, and there is a digital crossing signal that residents can push, and it throws a flashing light up on the edge of the road to where it can warn cars that somebody wants to cross there, and at least warn them that somebody is going to potentially be in front of them. So we're going to request that. The Redwood project is, certainly you see that it's underway. The sanitary sewer is totally complete. The water main installation is totally complete as well. It'll be, and has been approved. It's going to be tied in, and so it'll be live after this Friday, tomorrow and Friday. They're going to actually connect that water main to the existing water main. The storm sewer system is about 50% complete, and it'll take them about another month to finish the storm sewer system, and then they can start the roadway system once the frost comes out of the ground. As part of that project, but somewhat independent, the plans have been submitted to the DEQ for the extension of the sanitary sewer up to service the 4 panhandle parcels up at the corner of South Commerce Road and Oakley Park Road. So it'll serve the Colonial Apartments up there, JNR Engineering, it'll serve the car wash facility, and also the 7-Eleven. And as you know, they have an option of whether to tie in or not. But 2 of them have agreed to, and have actually fronted their share. The other 2 are willing to put it off and essentially pay the penalties for not paying up front for that particular project. The car wash owner, Mr. McNabb, has also been in negotiations with the Redwood project. He is looking to put something other than just the car wash there. He wants to remove a couple of those bays of the car wash and potentially put 2 commercial buildings, small buildings there, ideally a coffee shop, restaurant, ice cream, something like that. Nothing that high schoolers like, of course. And in doing that, because the technical requirements of requiring a stormwater detention area, a great deal of his property would have to have been taken up with a hole in the ground, storing stormwater from his new development. He is in negotiations, and we've been trying to facilitate between the 2 of them to allow his stormwater to run off into the new Redwood project and carry it to the detention pond at the end of that site, so that he doesn't have to store the stormwater on his site, and it's going to greatly improve the looks and everything and the usability of the McNabb piece. So all of that is ongoing as well.
I think Mike Stack had a question.
Yes.
He answered it.
Oh,
I want
okay.
to see if anyone else bought in on install.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. The last item that I wanted to bring up to you is the easements for the Benstein pathway have been created. I have been in contact with each of the property owners between Clara Miller Park and the Tasty Freeze. We have shown them how the pathway will go in front of their property. I've explained to them that really Benstein Road's the pavement is a little too wide to keep that pathway within the road right-of-way, the road commission right-of-way. And so each one of them have agreed to donate a 10-foot easement to allow that pathway to go in from Clara Miller Park up to the Tasty Freeze. So we're in the process of getting those easements so that this spring that pathway can be constructed as well. That's a pretty good overview of the things going on here in the village. Be glad to address any other details you might have.
Looks like everybody's happy right now.
Very good. Thank you, Council.
A blessed exception. Well, Dave, we'll see how we go with item 2.
Okay, I'm here to discuss a few things with regard to the improvements to the building. First of all, I can say that the improvements look pretty good. I came tonight, the lights were on, and the image of the building is looking very good. The contractor has submitted a series of change orders. The reason there's like several different change orders is because he likes to keep each item separated for the sake of reviewing process. So change order number 26 has to do with some electrical in the basement and some other improvements with regard to the plumbing and the sump and things like that. The original change order was like $2,500, but after some review and discussion, he modified it to only read $460. Number 27, the east basement wall showed no improvement on it at all, but to make it consistent with the other three walls in the basement, to allow for securing racks and storage, we discussed it with the opportunity to do a stud wall and finish it in the plywood consistent with the rest of the basement. And that was a $7,100 revision. But a part of that revision also included some improvements to the front of the building where all of the soffit material on both sides of the beam between all the columns was to be perforated. He and I talked about that. Consistently, it would have been just the outside that was perforated material. But in order to get venting to work properly. But we showed everything being perforated. And after looking at the condition being installed, he asked, and I agreed that, as your representative, that it would be better to have only that perforation in the ceiling part of those overhangs and porches. And therefore, the added hardy board and the added weight resulted in like 70% of that change order. Only about 30% had to do with the basement wall. Okay, so that I'm representing that we're recommending that 100% of that change order be considered. On the east stairway, there was a wall and cap going on the wall going down the steps on the front of the building. It was almost a $1,900 ad, but after I reviewed a few things with him regarding to materials that were being replaced, that change order was adjusted to $0. The roof, the flat roof, I know we had a lot of discussion about that flat roof when we were here a couple of months ago. And it was generally agreed to replace the roof. But I can honestly give a lot of credit to the DPW director or person who was really concerned about, in a sense, what I would call wasting the warranty on that roof. We had the same contractor who did that roof who was going to do the new one. And a part of our discussion had to do with a drain, which was something I was recommending. Well, after much discussion, we actually went with the drain, and I hope you understand it's a very good solution. It's preserved the warranty for another 12 years or so, and instead of spending $20,000, we spent barely $5,000, just under $5,000. So we're recommending that change order. Change order 30 has to do with some electrical work in the building, up in front, to the police department, and to the lighting outside on the east side of the building. And after some discussion, it was important to separate the circuits from the police computer and the lighting. And then some of the other lighting work that was outside the building was really damage caused by the contractor during construction. So he reduced the change order by an amount that is consistent with what I show in the letter, going from $2,260 to $1,672. Change order 31 has to do with the carpet, and that was completely rejected. We figured that it was too much money, and if there was going to be other changes to the carpeting in the offices, it could just be rolled into that value much more economically. And then, of course, the last one, the rerouting of the electrical from the back of the building through to the panel that's up in the clerk area of the main office. There was an earlier change order for getting it out of the way, and then this change order here, number 32, for $3,321, was for finalizing it, having the appropriate rerouting through the building and up to that panel to bring that whole panel up to code. So with that, the original request for change orders was like $38,000, but after all the adjustments, it's for $17,000. So we're asking council to, we are recommending to council that these change orders be approved.
All right.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the change orders as presented. So motion Duff, second.
Support.
Second Stack. Further discussion? Ed?
On this sheet that we got,
Yes.
was this from you?
No, that's what the contractor puts together.
Okay, just a quick question. Do you have one of these?
A very small copy. Mine's 8.5 by 11.
You can look.
I can blow it up on the computer anytime I want.
No, just because we just got this, so I haven't had a chance to really look through it, but for clarification, on the right-hand side, it gives a description of what's going to be done.
Left side.
I'm sorry, left side, yeah. And the total, is that what the original estimation was? The blue? That brought the total down at the bottom to 400 and, what is that, 60?
460, yes.
And then everything that's in between here are all the add-ons that we've had.
Yes, it is.
Just to point something out, let me see, what line is it?
You can see there were 5 of them rejected, others were.
Yeah,
green
no, I
dots.
think it's 23.
23. Yes.
If you look across that, and that's labor, that's an extra $30,000.
And what was that for? That was for
Drive it.
all the rotting we found after removing a portion of the drive-it, and we really went at the drive-it, taking away as much as necessary to uncover all that was rotted so that it could be repaired. And let me share with you, that was one after several other change orders up above were minor area changes to the rotting, the drive-it and the rotting. So in reality, the hidden conditions of this building were more like $45,000.
And most of that was on the north face of the building?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
All right. Further questions? Hearing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
And then the other,
Oh, go ahead.
then the other item is the request for payment. And presently, they're looking for a $32,923 request for payment. I had reviewed the work and reviewed the request, and it's reasonable, and I'm recommending that council can approve that. What I want to share with the council, however, though, is that we are getting close to the end of the project. There's a few things that can't be done until spring. I received a request for substantial completion request to look at the building and do my list. With all the snow and the winter conditions, I'm going to share with you that I'm not going to do a complete punch list of things that need to be repaired because I can't go on the roof. And I know I have concerns with some of that stuff that's been done on the roof. And I want to make sure it's completely clear before I recommend any sign-off for anything. So, but I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks, so I can't even come back and meet with them about the punch list until the end of February. I'll be able to do my punch list in April. It shouldn't be an issue. And I have to protect the village in that process, and that's why I'm saying to you that I am not going to do a punch list until I can see everything. All right? But in the meantime, this request is okay.
Okay, couple quick questions. So this payment, though, is for work completed that you're satisfied with?
Yes.
And second item is, in general, the overall, we know we still have painting and caulking to do on the outside when the weather improves. You've got to go through with the punch list. Are there any other pieces of this project that are still, substantially undone?
Well, I certainly wouldn't even consider the roof complete enough to consider it substantially complete. And I have a couple of big concerns that I'm going to address based on my visit today with the roofer and the general on that. But after that, it's just the painting, and then the punch list is going to be 3 pages long. I can see it now.
And we've only retained $10,000 to this point and over $300,000 in payments.
Correct, but we also have the work that's not completed,
Right.
and then tonight's change orders are not even on that list. So we really have over $30,000 in
Okay,
held
because this is
back.
showing 10.
Yeah, it
Okay.
shows 10 in retention.
Yeah.
But there's over 30 that won't even get approved until I get to.
Right.
Over 30 total for retention for the project right now. And you're reasonably confident that's retaining enough to complete?
Yes. So I was trying to show you the difference between retention and work that has to be completed and money's being held for that additional work.
Okay, do I hear a motion to pay payment number 7 in the amount of $32,923.90 as presented? Motion Duff.
Support.
Second Nedrow. Further discussion? Roll call vote. Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Stack?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinclair?
Yes.
Any other questions for Mr. Donovan while he's here? All right, thank you very much. Thank you. It's really starting to look good. Well, thanks. Early to bed, early to rise for the entrepreneurial class. Thanks, Alina.
Thank you. Congratulations and good luck here.
Whose bag is that? Mike, is
That's
that your
mine.
bag? Okay.
Full of lollipops.
Full of lollipops now.
Lollipops instead of mints here.
I don't know, like the York peppermint patties may be obsolete. Okay. That brings us to item B, resignation of Officer Kenneth Ayers. John, please do this.
Council, as you know, I think I informed you at the work session that Officer Ayers had tendered his resignation. Officer Ayers worked for, actually, the village officially for the last 4 years. 3 years prior, he worked for me, or under me, during our cooperation agreement with Wallen Lake. We're going to miss Officer Ayers. He's taken a position with another department, and he has returned all of his equipment. And Saturday night was his last evening here, and I know there were many officers that stopped by with cake and ice cream and different things throughout the night. So he has departed. Officer Ayers has left the building. So. But we're sorry to see him go, and he did a good job for us. And he's still in the area, so he'll stop by occasionally, but he's moving on for right now. So we're definitely down another officer and doing the best we can to fill those ranks.
My understanding is that we've posted and we are gathering
As
applicants.
of today, tomorrow is the deadline. As of today, I have 25 applications. I just counted them before I came down, so.
All right. I guess we can accept the letter of resignation. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion Stack, second Duff. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
And he will be missed.
Motion
He was a
carries,
good
and
guy.
he will be missed. Yeah, he was a really good officer for us. And, you know, had a good opportunity elsewhere, so
Yeah.
good for him, and we'll just hope to get another good one in. Okay, item C, recommendation from Zoning Board of Appeals. Zoning Board recommends Robert Ray to the board for a 3-year term expiring 12/31/2017. Mr. Nagy isn't here. Sharon, I believe you talked with,
I did, but Mr. Malik is here and he's on that board.
well, why don't we ask Mr. Malik to do an introduction?
Hi.
Excellent idea.
Bob Malik, 1620 Thurston. I happen to be an alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and Mr. Nagy is the liaison from the council. And at our meeting this past month, yeah, it was last month, this is February, we did speak with Mr. Ray, and everybody seemed content that he would fill in to the open spot. In other words, Mr. Nagy would still be an alternate number 1, and I would still remain alternate number 2. But on behalf of the all members, I can't speak for them all, but if you look at our minutes, I believe everybody was in agreement to have him accepted by council if it is your decision to do so. And,
Yep,
you know, all I can say is good luck. Thank you.
Don't say it like that till after he's sworn in. Yeah, and he has a lot of experience. He is a real builder. We have Mr. Ray here.
I'd like to make the motion to appoint. Second.
Motion Stack,
Robert Ray.
second Duff.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Anybody have any questions for Mr. Ray? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Ray. You are now a member of the ZBA. Let's swear you in.
Get sworn in. Uh-oh.
Would you like to step up here, please? Could you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of Zoning Board of Appeals member
of Zoning Board of Appeals member
in and for the Village of Wolverine Lake,
in for the Village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
County of Oakland,
State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you.
I need you to sign this.
Thank you. Oh, signature too?
Yeah.
I was just caught off guard with this 3-year term that you all expected. No, I'm just
Oh, yeah, once we get you on, there's...
That's it.
That's it. You're done.
Thank you.
And I noticed they did warn you.
He's in.
Now we go. I was
All
not.
right. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right. well,
Business you roll this for.
Thank you for serving. Okay, brings us to Park and Rec. Park and Rec recommends council appoint Diane Brinkovich to the Park and Rec Board for a term ending December 31st, 2016 to fill a vacancy. Mark, would you do the introductions?
I don't believe she's
Oh,
She's
not here.
not, she wasn't able to be here tonight.
You're right, I have jumped ahead. Well, anyways, tell us.
She seemed like she was a good candidate for it, was pretty enthusiastic about it, and everybody agreed.
All right.
Resident.
Yeah, I mean.
Long time
Long-time
resident.
resident, has been
She's been around the village a long
she's
time,
well-known.
volunteered for a lot of
Yeah.
things, well-known
Yeah.
within the village. So, I think a good addition. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion Duff.
I'll second.
Second Scott to appoint Diane Brinkovich to the board. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item, Park and Rec recommends council inquire about having Carlisle Workman complete the Park and Rec master plan. So, Sharon, should I start with you on this?
Sure.
I think we've had a discussion with our consultant.
The Park and Rec master plan expired in 2014, and we had one of our members on that board that was going to help do some updating with that plan, but she wasn't able to stay on the Park and Rec board, so she's no longer with us. So we've checked with Carlisle Wortman, who actually did the original master plan, and you see the information in your packet. It wouldn't take them long to do the updates. There are some, public hearings and things that need to be done, but we did not budget for this, so it's not in the budget this year. We could certainly talk about it during our budget workshops, and the cost that they're proposing is $2,750 to $3,500 to complete the process. Also, as you know, if you want to apply for any grants or anything, you have to have your master plan up, your Park and Rec master plan updated every 5 years, I believe.
So that is, one thing that could give this some urgency. I'm not aware of any grants we are planning to apply for between now and the next year. I know we've investigated a couple Parkway grants and some other things that didn't seem quite ready for us to apply for. So I think it can probably wait for the next budget cycle.
Okay.
Even if she would start up in June, as long as we start to get filled in July.
It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of urgency for it, but it's definitely there, sort of looming
Yeah.
in the wait.
And we will want to do that. So, I think we can just add this to the budget discussions.
Sure.
Bring it in and then talk about it there in more detail.
Okay.
So, I don't think there's even a motion needed here. We just bring it into the budget.
Makes sense.
Anybody else on D2? Hearing none. Item E, Water Management Board recommends council approve 2-year contract extension for Progressive AE. John, I know you weren't at the meeting.
I wasn't at the
but
meeting.
I believe you've had discussions with Cliff and with Progressive about this.
Yeah, I actually did with Cliff and with Paul. I also have something to pass it around in the second part, so maybe we'll just pass that around right at this point.
Yeah, we do have a part 2 about the
Yeah.
specific testing that's going to be required for the aeration.
Yeah.
Which is
I think looking back over it, what Paul has done and his company has done for us has been really high-quality, good work in terms of the management of the lake relative to not only the harvesting issue, but of course to the chemical applications. So the board was, and Cliff, of course, I just got off the phone with him walking in, is highly enthusiastic to continue to work with them over the next 2 years to stabilize what we're doing with them. So I'll make a motion that the council approve the 2-year contract at $10,000 a year with no increase in cost to retain A&E or Progressive A&E for lake management contracting.
All right, got a motion. Do I hear a second? Second, Duff, to retain A&E. Further discussion? I would add that I think they've done a really good job both with working through some of the issues that we had in terms of not having a harvester for a year, working around some weather issues. The weed control overall has been really good on the lake, introducing GPS into the treatments. I think has been good. It's given us a lot more precision, a lot more bang for our buck, and more effect with fewer chemicals. And I've also appreciated the fact that they've been a moderately skeptical eye on the aeration pilot as we've gone forward, in terms of keeping somebody in there with 2 eyes open. So I certainly favor renewing the contract.
I was able to attend that meeting, and I was there for the majority of it. I agree that Progressive seems to be aware of what's going on, and even ahead of what we're going to be doing in the future. I don't know if John was aware of it, but they discussed for various names these muck-away products, and they have 3 locations that they're going to, or they're tentatively going to put the product in. Apparently, these products change from day to day. There's a liquid product that's heavier than water that goes down to the bottom and sits on the bottom, and I suggested that since there's also a granular product that would have less resistance to being washed away. So I think the final decision from them was that 2 of the areas will have the liquid product, and the 1 area have the granular, so we can compare apples to apples to see which one has the most effect. And these charts that you see in the back, the one that's the brown tones, apparently that's done by satellite, and it's just picking up the density of the material below the water column. So as it shows on the legend there, the softer material is a light yellow color, and as it gets deeper or it's less agitated, it's more compacted, is the solid material. So those are nice to see. That gives you an idea of what we have around there. But one thing I wanted to point out, we have 2 of the older people who've been on the water board for some time, John and Gene Metkowski. What I came from that meeting is when that's going to pass, the water board will basically just be a board that's going to make decisions, and they're not going to have any activity on the lake. They're not going to do the SESHI testing. They're not going to do any testing whatsoever. They're just going to make policy. Everything else is, they farmed it all out, so that's why some of these figures came in. They're not going to do the SESHI, they're not going to do oxygen, they're not going to do some of the pH and the other stuff. I don't remember if you guys did E. coli too or not.
We did, but the reason that the decision was made actually 2 meetings ago was to get, it actually goes back almost 2 years now, is to get data that is consistent. We found out that the dissolved oxygen meter that we have been using has been considered outmoded and not accurate for something in excess of 5 to 10 years. The way they're going to do it, trapping the water as they move down the columns, is going to set us up with the kind of information we need over the next many decades. I think the added cost for that was relatively minuscule for them to do it.
Well, let's
I
before
don't
we
think
go
it will just.
too far into the
Yeah.
testing, which I think is really sort of the second item. Let's talk about the general consulting.
Well, actually, this part of the work is part of the actual general contract.
Okay, so
That's
the
original
second desk and
10,000.
The original
regular-
10,000, they've added additional work.
Okay, so
at
the
literally
additional
no cost,
is
yeah.
for the, okay, so that, so
Right.
our,
The handout that I gave is for part 2, so to speak.
so for part 2. So the original contract, the testing that they are doing, that's, kind of the state required testing that we have to give back as part of our herbicide plan is dissolved oxygen, Secchi disc, I think they do E. coli, they do a couple other, on each of their site visits, they do essentially all of them.
Right. It was actually less expensive for them to do the testing on the E. coli than what we were doing in terms of gathering it as a board and then sending it over to
Oakland County.
Oakland County.
Okay, so that testing is included in the 10.
Right.
Basically, they're going to be doing all the testing on the lake now.
Yep.
Yeah. And establish a baseline with a more scientifically based or use of equipment than that we have. I mean, Secchi disc is not a scientifically based piece of equipment. It's but,
Yeah. Although it's remarkably consistent over time.
exactly
You get
so.
those-
And it does coordinate with the second phase of what's going on, which is turbidity and the improvement of that when we use aeration.
All right, so anything else on motion to approve the extension of the consulting contract for the next 2 years? In that case, I'll go to a roll call vote on that one.
Yes.
Stack?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Pedro?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes. So that motion carries. Second item we have is the additional testing for aeration management and DPW studies. I'll be the first to say I had a little sticker shock when I saw that one.
Yeah.
John, I think you've had a couple discussions. You've given us a little breakdown here. Is there anything you'd like to add to let us know about that? I will say, as near as I can tell, that's essentially 15 sites. It's 5 sites, 3 visits with fairly complete analysis and gathering at each site, so.
Yeah, and it's a protocol that's been set up by the DEQ. It's not something that, 3-4 years ago, and certainly I and others got involved with this, the DEQ had no protocol. Now that I think there's something over 16 lakes, there is a meeting, by the way, a statewide meeting coming up at the end of March that I'm going to try to attend. I know Paul's going to be there. And it is a meeting on aeration. It'll have the DEQ, the DNR, and other state boards involved, plus those that are doing the aeration, that is the equipment providers and et cetera. That's coming up in March. So what you're really looking at, and why I was talking, because I had a little sticker shock, to be honest with you too. I was concerned if they're out on the lake under our $10,000 contract, what was going to happen that there's another 9 coming at us. And Cliff and I spent about a half an hour on the phone. I just asked him to send an email, which you can see just came in at 6 o'clock this evening. What he basically said, the first thing to remember is the bathyspheres, which Ed already went over, these maps. There's a sequence of items that happen. One is that they have their normal GPS tracking, and that tracking, in fact, then coordinates itself to a depth gauge. And that depth gauge then itself coordinates itself to a data gathering, I guess I'd call it a thumb drive. And that is then taken back to the office, and there are combinations of manual and electronic equipment uploads into the satellites, and that's how these maps are generated.
Yeah.
So,
These are the fairly detailed bottom maps that will evaluate whether or not the aeration is actually producing a reduction in muck level.
Which is what we really, one of the 3 or 4 items that we're looking for, I mean, in addition to chemical reductions in the base mud or muck. I understand this is accurate, I guess it's 25,000 miles out there, but this is accurate within 1/10 of 1 foot, or in other words, about 1.2 inches, or being 1 inch, 0.2, or 1 1/4 inches. So we're going to get I think a good read back to see exactly what is going on with aeration. So the first 2, the analytical and the, what I see he called item number 3, for fancy bathymetric data collection and analysis. I don't think fancy is the technical term for it, but
They go with the
More
fancy-
detail.
it goes with it. It's pretty
They go with
fancy,
the
I
fancy
guess.
math,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we will be getting these, and there's actually, I think there were 3 or 4 more, but we'll be getting these back now 3 times a year to see what's going on. I don't know what 8 inches or 10 inches, if we can get 12 inches of muck reduction times 56 acres, that's quite a few tons, I think, coming out of the, yeah. So, I can get a hold of a couple of the people that I have contacts with in this to see how close this is. I think it's probably just an extension and a waste of time. Cliff and I did talk it over. He said, when you really push to shove, and this is true, most of the others are not using the satellites, so we're probably adding maybe 1,500 out of this 9,000 to really get this kind of reading. The only other way to do that is manual, so whatever we're spending extra to go to this level of accuracy, we'd probably spend that amount for somebody probing the lake. So.
Are we going to do any manual in any location just to, for checks and balances to see how accurate this is? I mean, if they come back and tell you in a year that we lost 8 inches of muck, I won't believe that.
Well, I can't.
But I'm just saying is, I mean, that's
handle that issue.
Yeah, I mean, if it was 8 inches, and it was verified, but I mean, I would just think that someplace along the line that we should,
Drop a stick down and see how
yeah,
far it goes.
I'd volunteer going out there periodically during there and just, picking a location and doing like we do, in the river and stuff like that to determine how much muck is there.
Yeah, there was some.
Just to verify.
I think it's a good idea to at least take a few manual ones
Sure.
and
Yeah.
make sure that
Yeah.
what you see on the computer looks like reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was talked about. The question is how, at what time of the day do you do it? What is the motion of, or I should say, the height of the lake as it's changing through evaporation and et cetera? How do you get rid of that consistent issue or that variation? And this seemed to be the item that I guess many surveyors are using right at this point in time. I thought it was interesting to go down just right there to that very tip of, I guess, Sicily here, and see that you have a 29-foot hole there. I don't know if anybody has ever been there, but when you look over the side of the boat.
It's not 29.
Yeah, when you look over, you
feet.
might have 4 feet or 5 feet
Yeah.
before you see the top of the muck, and yet that's filled with probably 20 feet of muck, so it'll be interesting to see what this does over time. A little update on this, as I'm talking about this, as you may or may not know, I think I brought it to council, we have consistently been attempting to move these aerator heads into the deep holes, which is really what most other lakes are doing. The pushback has come from the DNR. We are going to learn whether that's been successful in our appeal to the DNR and the DEQ after this March meeting. I guess that's what we're hearing at this point in time. So I guess with that said, I'd make a motion that the council approve the second request, which is for $9,000 for the year of 2015 only, to do the required DEQ sampling and reporting.
Second.
All right, so motion Scott, second Sinkowitz. Discussion, and I also favor passing the motion. Had good sticker shock, looking at everything that's in there. And, you know, it's going to be required by the DEQ, and I'm optimistic, and I don't think entirely naively optimistic, that we may have to do a year or two of fairly substantial testing because our region is requiring more testing than has been required elsewhere in Michigan.
Correct,
But
yeah.
once we get through the initial startup period and it's established what we've got there, I think we may not have to do quite as much in the long term. So,
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to do it 3 times a year, for example. We
Yeah.
probably will do it annually when we do, because it's all going to be fed to satellite anyway, so, you know, benchmarking's important, though.
we really want to monitor it. We want to monitor it closely, especially while it's in the pilot phase and over the next 5 years to see what it's doing. But
Yeah, see exactly what this statewide meeting says, too. It'll be very interesting to see what these other lakes are experiencing,
Yep.
if it's, in fact, still positive.
all right, further discussion. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank
John,
you,
while
Council.
we're on the water board,
Sure.
I'd like to ask John Scott, you've got some pull on that board for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now. We've been trying to get those GPS coordinates for the structures.
Oh, for the, yeah.
I went to the last meeting, I talked to Scott, he said he had them. Sharon needs him to fill out
Permit.
the permit. He says, I got him, she'll have him before the next meeting. I've talked to Phil 3 times, 4 times, I've talked to him twice. I think they're lost.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Paul. Paul has, I think he did 2 of them, and I think Scott did 3 or something, right?
Paul said, Paul over here on,
Yeah.
Paul said he did 1. He did 1 out on the, out there someplace in the vicinity off of the dam.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott was, I think he said he put in 4 or 5.
Right.
So there was a total of 6. But I've called him and I get no response. I don't know if Sharon's had any response, but he says he has all the information.
I'll give him a jingle.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to meet with Lynn next week on other issues, and I'll make sure we'll get the information through Lynn.
Good luck.
Scott.
All right. Thank you. Other water board item? Item 12F, request for a streetlight at Wolverine Drive in Adelaide. I think Police Chief
I
and
think
Administrator
I'm
talked
gonna
through
table
that.
that one. Back in September, early, or actually late September, I was making some rounds over on Wolverine Lake, or Wolverine Drive in Adelaide area. Thank you. And I was approached by some parents that were standing out by the bus, or bus stop. And they requested, they wanted a street light there, because it was obviously getting ready for time change, and with the winter coming along, and wasn't quite sure how to go about that. I spoke to Sharon, and she said, well, we need something from them, requested it. So I went back to them, explained to them to send us some emails. They did that. I started looking into it, talked to Tim Miller, who was our DTE Energy representative. He did a quick survey of the area, actually through Google, just like most people do, and came up with a couple of quotes. They seemed high to me. They were in the $3,000 to $4,000 range to add a street light, but he had everything in there, including transformers and a new pole put up and the whole bit. He said, but if there was some in the area that could be used, they could use that. We went back and forth. I think I went to the administrative committee. We had a hearing, an informational hearing with the neighbors. I sent out 16 letters to the local residents. That night, on January 8th, myself and Sharon met with the residents. I think there were 3 separate families that were there, and everybody's been in agreement. They really feel they need one there. After reviewing it, the intersection there does not have a stop sign now. That stop sign was removed. There is a curve in the road there. Cars can't see pedestrians in the evening with this curve, the way the headlights shine. The same concern with the bus stop. The bus driver I actually spoke to, and she would like a light there. Obviously, safety concerns, but with the winter and road weather conditions, I would like to see one there. Pleasantly, or unfortunately, Tim Miller retired middle of December when we were in the middle of this. And so I did talk to Lance Alley, who was his replacement. Lance looked into it and said, you know, I think I have something on that. He went back and found it. He did he came out and did a site visit, did a complete workup of it. And actually, on February 3rd, he sent me the final cost analysis. And the annual operating cost is $179.90. The cost to construct is $1,180.21, and that's minus 3 years revenue, which is how they figure it out. The total contribution from Wolverine Lake to add a light there is $640.51. So, and that is one of the new 135-watt LED Cobra head style luminaire on an existing wood pole. So that pole, I believe that the one that they're adding was recently, as last year, replaced, and that already has a transformer on it, and they're just going to put an arm on that and one of the new LED lights. So it's going to be much more cost efficient, and I think as we replace these lights, I think they're going to be starting to be replaced with LED. So I would ask the council, after all of this, it's been months of investigative and meetings and meeting with the residents, and everybody's for it. I think this is kind of a no-brainer at this point.
Mr. President, based on the information that we've gotten from the police chief and DTE, I'd like to make a recommendation that we go ahead with putting a street light on the intersection of Wolverine Drive and Adelaide.
Okay. Motion Sikowitz, second Duff. Further discussion. I believe we have one of the neighbors who might like to speak, and I'll. Mrs. Mitchell? Name and address.
Hi, I'm Ann Mitchell. I live right at 722 Wolverine Drive, which is right at the intersection there, and it is very dark. My son is one of the students that get on at the bus stop, and it's pitch black. So with the winter months right now, the bike path the kids would be walking on is now covered with snow, so now they are walking in the street that is unfortunately without a light. So, you know, there's a danger there, and there is the 2 bus stops, the high school and the middle school. And out of all the intersections from Wolverine to Penny Lake to Wolverine to basically Ladd Road, that is the only intersection without a stop sign or a light. Adrian has a stop sign. They do not have a light, but every other intersection has one or the other. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
I know on the commercial end, if you put a light in, you end up having to get a street address for them to bill that to. Does that have to happen on that?
I'm sure.
I'm sorry, if I, Mike, it would be, I think we have a separate bill, we have several bills, electric bills that come to us. Village hall, augmentation, well houses, all that sort of thing. We also have one bill for streetlights that comes
Okay.
in. This looks like it would just simply be added to that, and that we would pay
Yeah,
that
but
directly.
still, even with an existing pole, we've had to get a physical address when we ran some light on a commercial property.
Not for streetlights, for
Yeah,
some reason. It's
okay.
not on that.
I think there's
You're
a
right,
pole
for all the
number.
others, even for the aeration stuff we do too.
Yeah, they do assign a poll number, and that one's already, since the poll is already
Okay.
existing, they already have that, and they will just add that, I'm sure, as a notation to that bill.
Is there a
No, we
possibility,
found out all kinds of fun stuff when we went to do this lighting project.
is there a possibility we could contact the same person and see if they might be able to fix the light down by the boat launch?
Is that still going on and off?
Out. It's out
Again?
now. Yeah.
Well, then absolutely, that's part of.
I mean,
our
that's
job.
been a
So,
been
no,
a
that's,
thing
I
that's
see
been
our
a problem for a
administrator
while.
taking a note to that effect.
yeah, we have actual sheet we fill out monthly, and we ship it to them to have them come replace all
Yeah,
this.
it's been
all
out
the
for a
lights.
while, so I think.
Speaking of which, you mentioned replacement in LED bulbs. Are we on a program to get those replaced by LEDs, or is that?
There is a cost involved to replace the fixtures. We're not on a particular schedule to have those replaced. Obviously, we had talked about that. We felt that that was the best way to go. They're a little more expensive on the upfront, but with the cost savings of just electricity, it's about $30 a year as it is. In a couple of years, you make that up. So I think.
But I think what you're saying is, are we on a program?
We are not.
to get-
We are not currently on a program to have those replaced as they go out. No, we don't. We're
Okay.
not.
And we can look into
I think
it.
that might be worth looking into. I did talk to somebody at the MML training, who they had gone through much larger community with a lot more lights. But DTE has a program to sort of help communities make that change, and it's a pretty substantial cost savings.
Yeah, right now they're working on Detroit, and they're putting up 15,000, they put up 15,000 new LED lights last year, street lights in the city of Detroit.
I will say that I have noticed that the last couple times I've gone through
It's-
Detroit.
it's pretty impressive.
It is not as dark as it was, and it was not fully lit yet, but.
15,000, that's impressive.
Mr. Condick, do we have a fund from which this money would come?
Well, the budget for streetlights is in the general fund, so I'll just have to supplement that a little bit, I think.
Okay. Last thing I wanted to add is, that's pretty close to my neighborhood. I did talk to my neighbor just next to my house. Her daughters go down to that bus stop too. Other parents in the neighborhood, not immediately there, but that's the central bus stop for that area, and they're all concerned, especially given the incredibly early hour that some of these kids have to go down to that bus stop. It's like 6:30 in the morning.
And the
It's-
black and the dark colored hoodies they all
Yeah.
have. That matches perfectly with the asphalt.
Yeah, they ride a bike at night with no lights, wearing dark clothes, and they're in the street. I go,
Well, they were sitting on the asphalt at, what is it, Connecticut and Benstein, and I pulled over and I said to him, I said, man, you guys got to get off the road. You can't, I couldn't even see. You stopped and got out, didn't you? And yeah, I mean, black hoodie, his back to me, sitting on the asphalt.
Yeah, and I'm not even so much worried about at night, but
Yeah.
those kids are out there at the bus
Yeah,
stop
that
in
is
the
true.
dark almost all year.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough, so, I think it's a good thing too. So, any further discussion? Let's get a roll call vote.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you, enjoy the light. All right, second call to the public, opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding any and all village business. Mr. Malik.
Bob Malik, 1620 Thurston. I have a few items, so first one is I'd like to make a comment about Officer Ayers leaving the village. I personally will be sorry to see him go. He's been quite an asset to this community, not just in our subdivision, but I think throughout. Like at Halloween with the children and 4th of July, and I think the chief would agree with that. whether he does or not, but that's my opinion. But really, it's a shame to see someone of his quality leave, and I hope his replacement, whoever they may be, is up to that standard, okay? That was my first thing. The second thing is, I don't know if the village has passed out because of the DNR or DEQ, whatever they call themselves today. We have a free fishing weekend, if anybody's aware of that, on Saturday and Sunday. You can go cut your holes in the ice and just knock yourself out. They just advise that you don't bring bait that isn't warranted to come into lakes, all right? Next
Going to get
thing.
down to -8 Saturday night. too.
Good ice.
The next thing I'd like to ask is, you had discussion on item E from the Water Management Board. And my question I have for Ed and John both. Ed, you made mention about a product that they're talking that is heavier than the water, that is going to sink down. Now, have they, because of these satellite pictures, picked out areas that they're going to work this? My big question is, we don't see anything happening on the western part of the lake, okay? Everything seems to be on the eastern section and Penny Lake section. Well, the lake runs all the way to Benstein, and we'd sure like to know what's going on that end of the lake. I mean, there is a huge problem throughout the lake.
Yep, yeah, Mr. Secretary.
John might have more information or has received it too, but the 3 location they picked was, the one location was going to be right next to his house.
So
in
that's
that bay.
perfect.
And under the bridge, yeah, he got a new road too. I don't know, he's got a lot of pull on this concept.
Yeah, and a
That's
new
why I'm so
park.
quiet. You know,
Yeah.
I don't bring this all up.
And then, there's gonna be one in, across from the access site where the canals are.
Yeah.
There's that little part in there where, what's his-
Donahue.
Donahue used to be.
Right.
That one's gonna be done. And then the other one is down by Benstein.
Right.
Okay.
In
Well,
the-
with
on the
not
corner-
having
yeah.
access to that map or anything,
Yeah,
that's
but
why
no,
I
but,
asked those
so
questions.
they picked out 3 locations where they thought there'd be minimal traffic.
Right.
And I think they gotta find out too a little bit more, correct me if I'm wrong, John, about how much effect this product has if there's boat traffic over it. I mean, obviously high-speed boating would
Right.
have an effect, but there's always somebody fishing or going in and out. And so that, but yeah, your end's got lake's getting some
Okay,
attention.
well, like I say, it seems like everything's always down the other
Well,
end.
we
I have
thought about
people-
you. They were thinking about
Because
you when
of
they
the
did that.
involvement I've had in the past, I have people ask me questions. And I guess I'm just putting those questions out, so if somebody asks me again, I have some sort of answer. And then last but not
I'd like
least,
to make a comment on that so you know.
Yeah.
We were looking for stable bodies of water as far away as boat traffic as we could get. So that's why those are passed.
oh, very good, I appreciate that. Last but not least, under H, you have village goals. And I'm just hoping that we don't see septic tank things on there again that stood on that goal list for I don't know how many years, never had anything done. Unless there's something going to actually happen, I'd sure hate to see it on the village goals list again. Personal item, thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I move on to see any other questions, I hasten to point out that, yes, one of those locations is near Mr. Scott's house, but it is hard to find a location in that back bay that is not close to Mr. Scott's house.
That's
because he
true.
lives on
That's
the
okay.
peninsula.
I look
below
at
that.
everything. Actually, yes, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so
There's about 9 feet of muck in that hole that we calculated, maybe almost 12 feet, so.
I just wanted to be
That's okay.
to be clear
Appreciate
about that. Okay, anybody else? Mr. Malik, a second time.
Oh, please, turn that on, too. I'm sorry. You know, you mentioning about that, it goes back, Gene, you can probably help me on this, when we drained the lake and cut all the stumps back in the early 80s, wasn't it?
80s, yeah.
We had a major project at our beach at Spring Lake Heights, where we had drawn out muck, laid down a cloth mesh, and then brought in new sand, okay? Now, again, that's 25, 28 years ago. And since that, the overgrowth of all that weed and everything has just come back into our swim area there at the beach. And that's one of the reasons also I asked that question when you made mention about the muck in the hole. I mean, we had a very nice area. We have a DNR registered swim area. and yet the kids can't use it like they could 20 years ago because the overgrowth just keeps coming in, so.
Yeah, and just a quick comment on using this product. It was originally recommended that we use this product in combination with aeration. That isn't part of the DEQ formula.
Right.
So that's why we're doing it separately. Hopefully, we do get results, and maybe there will be a way to apply it in your area.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else second call to the public? Seeing none, I will move us on to item H, village goals. You will see in your packet, I gave a little more detailed write-up just on the goals that we had, the discussion. I just wanted to include a little context around them. I will read them mostly, I think, to Mr. Malik's pleasure, and one item, maybe not so much to his pleasure, but we'll see. So I just want to go through them and see if there's anything we would like to capture or change about this, and then otherwise I'd look for a motion to adopt these as our goals for the upcoming year. So our top goals, number one was work together with the police department to fix the shortfall in MERS funding. Number two was extending the pathway further on South Commerce Road. And then we actually, in our voting, we had a three-way tie. We decided to keep three up there as the third, but one was to review staffing levels after we've addressed the MERS situation. Police staffing levels. Number two, identify a location for a neighborhood park on the south side of the village. And number three, the village complex, making complete interior improvements as needed. We've done the exterior, we've done some substantial renovations inside. It's been mentioned there are a couple other changes and improvements we could make inside to bring everything into harmony. So we'd like to do that once the outside is complete. Additional goals that we also identified as desirable, other things we'd like to work on, they're not the top goals, but we're going to take a look at them. Revise and update the capital improvement plan, and in coordination with that, revise and update the roads infrastructure outlook. Get a really good, clear revision for both. On the lake, look for options and opportunities to improve conditions in the canals in the bay behind the Oak Island Bridge, and we just addressed one of the options there. Parks, continue work on the Oak Island Neighborhood Park, including resolution of the legal situation up there. Pathways, planning, equipment, and implementation of winter clearing of pathways. That's certainly been discussed a lot in the last couple of council meetings. Also looking for opportunities to build smaller connectors between neighborhoods and existing paths. We have some places where, we've done some fairly substantial projects, but there are some smaller places where we could connect some neighborhoods, maybe get some roads connected, a few smaller projects that would increase the walkability of some of those other neighborhoods. We'd like to identify those. Village complex, assess the state of the parking lot once the underground storage tank situation is fully resolved. Charter review, we've had this one, this is one of the ones that we didn't do off the last couple of years, but update the charter and put on ballot. And a note here, items discussed include auction rules, meeting date for the first meeting after the election, and council salaries. We've had a variety of things come up over the last few years that really are charter issues. And then other items that we identified that we'd like to see some work on. Increase volunteer participation on boards and commissions. Review the unpaved roads, see if there is desire to pave that. Every few years we review that situation again. Implement police body cameras. Investigate and decide on septic ordinance. So either investigate it and decide, and don't let it linger, because nobody wants lingering septic. And display video cast of packet info for residents during council meetings. So we're going to look at a way to do that. We've got some funding through the cable funds that come in to get a little bit better display up there for people in the meeting, or potentially for people who are watching the video. Helpful though it was to have me wave a map at you on an 8.5 by 11, there may be more helpful things. So those were the goals that we came up with, that we discussed, that we'd like to work on. Any additions, revisions to the list, or do I hear a motion to adopt those goals?
So moved.
Support. Motion Sinkowitz, second Stack, to adopt these as our 2015 council goals. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. It was a good session. I think we've got some good things to work on that'll have a real impact on folks. brings us to item I, 2015-2018 Police Dispatch Service Agreement. Who would like to discuss that?
Well, I guess that's me again. Obviously, I was not thinking about this being up already, but obviously it is. They contacted me in the last couple of weeks and said, hey, here's the new contract. They did it for everybody that they contract with throughout the county. And obviously, there's an increase. With this increase, after he went through his spiel, and he being Mel Mayer, who's the operations director for the dispatch, explained some of the things, and I've actually taken a tour of their new dispatch center. This has become such a well-known commodity that other communities have adopted going through Oakland County Dispatch. That being said, more demand has been put on them, and so what they have done is now they're working on reassigning certain communities to a certain band. When you have certain bands, right now we've been working with 17 different communities on one band, which is a little cumbersome sometimes. On our band, actually on the what they call the West Car, is myself, or Wolverine Lake, Wall Lake, and Wixom on one particular channel. Then some of the other communities, the townships, are on other channels. They have come to about a 95% capacity. And so they went out and they hired new additional dispatchers, created 2 additional dispatching call take centers and dispatch centers, so radio centers. They're going to be reassigning these areas, so instead of 6 particular dispatchers, they're going to have 8. So our quality of service should improve, our call taking ability should improve. That, along with, obviously, calls per service have gone up. In 2010, I believe our calls for service were right around 12 to 1,400. Last year, they were at 2,300. So they just, it's not necessarily the crime rate, it's the calls for service, which more suspicious areas, more cars broken down alongside the road. When we make a traffic stop, it generates a number. So when we're more active, we have more numbers out there. And so it also creates more of a demand, obviously, on the dispatch center. So there is an increase. There's an increase, and Mr. Condick probably broke down the numbers, maybe, I don't know, maybe.
The increase is around 5%.
Yeah, per year.
For the first 2 years.
For the first 2 years,
off.
yeah.
Or it goes up $10 for some strange reason.
Yeah, but, and I think part of that's going to be, the cause of that is going to be because of the additional personnel. I know we're not absorbing all ourselves, but, you know, with all the different additions that they're putting in up there, that'll get them back down to where they can absorb other smaller communities and dispatch centers. So, but they also do provide additional services to us at no cost, which is their crime lab, and they're also starting their new DNA crime lab. So that should be up and running by the end of the year. So hopefully they put it off another year and my daughter can get a job there. But yeah, but that's, you know, so we do have an awful lot of I don't want to say free service, because obviously we pay for it, but we do have an awful lot of things that are available to us through the Sheriff's Department.
All right.
I'll make the motion for that.
So motion Duff, or second Stack. Further discussion? I think it's worth discussing. It's now been, I think, what, 6, 7 years we've been with Oakland County. Probably 6. We've probably done 2 or 3 years. Yeah. I think a few little bumps when we moved over, but I think generally a lot of satisfaction all around with the service we've got.
They have been, especially since we moved back here on our own, they have been very attentive to anything, any requests or any concerns. They've addressed them immediately. They've always offered, you know, they have an open door policy. I have the director's phone number, and if I ever had any question, my officers don't seem to have any issues, and the community doesn't seem to have any issues. They seem to, want to help and be willing to help our community. So I'm very satisfied. Obviously, if we can't have our own, this is the next best thing. So, and at this point, I think we're doing very well.
And I would say, I haven't actually toured, no, I don't think I toured Oakland County when we did. We toured Novi when I did the Citizens Police Academy. But it's worth it. If you haven't seen a modern dispatch, how it works, it's really interesting and more complicated than you may think.
And if you wanted to do something like that, we could put together something where we could go up and actually tour the Emergency Operations Center too, which is very cool. So.
Don't we have another Citizens Police Academy coming up?
We do. It starts March 4th, and unfortunately, it is on a Wednesday again.
Yeah.
But they've assured me that the next session will be on a Thursday. So we had a meeting about it, and by the time I got to them, we had talked about this prior, but the people that put together the packets and the assignments did not get that message. So
Great program.
Pardon me?
It's a great program.
It is a great program, and I still believe we have some openings left, so they can pick up an application at the village or online, and make sure they get it into us soon, though.
Yeah, really worth doing and really checking out. And if you're anybody, either here in our audience here or in our digital online audience who enjoys a good round of crime drama on television, let me tell you, it's better than anything you're going to see on the TV on that night. So.
Yep.
Okay, any further discussion of the motion? So we have motion to approve the contract as presented. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
And I should have mentioned, where's the total number here?
Three to seven.
It's right here, it's 12. Number 12.
Ah, there it is, okay. Yeah, it's actually, so, I didn't have the total here, but the monthly is $24.60.83 per month. This year, $25.82.92 per month next year, and then $25.92 per month, April 2017 through March 2018. So, just wanted to get that number there so everybody was clear on it. Okay, brings us to item J, State of the Lakes Address. It looks as if for the State of the Lakes Address, they have rounded up 6 august speakers and me. So, always a great event. Please let Sharon know if you would like to attend. Really interesting, really good opportunity to hear what's going on in our surrounding communities. So I would recommend it heartily to one and all. So, that item I think is pretty much informational, but we do need to know in advance if you want to attend. Brings us to item L, set topics for the February 2015 work session. I have 2 things to say here, one of which is I am not aware of anything that we have pending that would require a work session in February. The second of which is I will not be here the 4th week of February.
I have one thing to say, motion to bypass the February work session.
Motion Stack, second Duff, to not have a work session in February. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. That's right, we cleared out the pending business. That part makes Mr. Malik happy. Update from Captain Ellsworth.
Obviously, last week was my conference in Grand Rapids, and I've had conversations with Sharon about that. I was a little disappointed. They're starting to spread out some of our good training. They used to happen all in the winter conference because the summer one was more of a family getaway, but they've kind of done away with that, and that's going to be a good conference also. But we did have a chance to talk a little bit and compare notes regarding body cams. Unfortunately, there's some very, very bad legislation going on right now in Lansing that we're going to be talking to our legislators about. And it could cost millions of dollars for mid-sized departments. It'll cost thousands of dollars for a year for smaller departments, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. So they're overstepping what they should be doing at this point. So at this time, I'm going to hold off making any type of a recommendation. I'm going to look into this a little bit more, and hopefully we can do that. While I was gone, I received a frantic phone call about a house fire that was occurring in Wolverine Lake. We had a house fire, major house fire last week on Lakeview, and I spoke at great length today with Chief Shornack from Commerce Township Fire Department. They haven't made a final determination. However, it does look like it is accidental, but they haven't determined a precise cause. We believe it might have been a worm, a heat lamp of sorts. They had a lot of reptiles, and the heat lamp actually in the last couple of weeks have melted some of the carpet around there, and so they rearranged it, but they did have some smells in the last couple of days before the fire, and so they think that it was in that general vicinity. They're just trying to narrow it down a little bit. So it was an accidental thing. Nobody was injured. There were some pets that did not make it out, a 7-foot python, I believe, and a couple of geckos, and some tarantulas. Many tarantulas, actually, did not make it out. But the ferret and a couple other smaller animals did make it out. The lizard did make it out, yeah. So, but also just before I left, actually February 1st, the Sheriff's Department fully launched their text to 911 service. I know some of you, or most of you, I think, got a email press release about that. It's a very neat program. It's the first in the nation to be able to do this. It's going to be challenging at first, and so obviously if it's not a situation where you can't, but you just want to text 911, don't do that, please. Dial 911 if it's an emergency. If for some reason you can't and you can text, that's the time to do that. But it's the traditional 911 service is best, obviously, but if all else fails, you can text to 911 in Oakland County. So, and that made national news because that's the first PSAP, the Public Safety Operations Center there, that can actually receive 911 texts. So, kudos to them for pulling that off. Other than that, I think, obviously, we're sad to see Officer Ayers go, but excited to see what comes in the future here. Hopefully soon.
Update from the treasurer.
Mr. President, village homeowners will be soon receiving, if they haven't already, the annual notice from Oakland County, from the Equalization Department, talking about property tax assessment. In a very brief discussion I had with the rep that comes to Commerce and us, he was talking about an 18% increase in residential property values in the village, which is slightly above Commerce's 14. When all is said and done, we're probably looking at an increase in our taxable value of somewhere around 4%. The rate of inflation, as measured by the federal government, was around 1.6%, and normally, other things being equal, that would be the amount of increase we would see. But certain properties have been uncapped now, and we're starting to see a run-up in values, and so we ourselves should see somewhere around 4%. Sharon and I will be meeting with them in more detail next week, and we'll keep you posted on that. But it's this time of year. Foreclosures are way down. They've almost been completely weeded out of the system. Board of review appointments are also way down. So we seem to be moving back toward an equilibrium point. But remember, any increases that we have are limited to the rate of inflation. So if you say we're increasing our residential property value by 18%, we don't necessarily see that. We're going to see somewhere around 4.
Falls at the rate it falls, and then it goes back up
By the rate of inflation.
by the rate of inflation. Okay, update from Administrator Miller.
Yes, I wanted to mention the house fire that we had last week and all the help and the cooperation we have from the different departments and our police department, of course, and our DPW. It was, if you remember, it was the day it was like 10 below zero out. It was very, very cold, and so all that water and all that ice, and we were very thankful that no one was home. And the other thing I wanted to mention, you remember we talked about the DIA Inside and Out program that we applied for and we were accepted. I went to an orientation this week, and we have been selected for the summer, which will run from August 1st through October 31st. We won't know what areas I took someone around from the DIA in the fall and showed them certain areas that I would like to have art placed, and they will review all those things and then let us know where they have chosen to put them and what they will be. But it's really exciting, and they offer a lot of programs. I'll be getting with the Park and Rec Department. There are a lot of free things that we can take advantage of. We can have bus trips to the DIA, which they will send a bus and take a group of people. You can also go to different communities that are also in the summer program. You can ask to go to another community. For example, South Lyon is in the summer program, Clarkston, actually the Detroit River Walk. So we could have a bus come here, pick up a bunch of people and take them to see the art displays in other communities. And they have a lot of really exciting programs. So I'm excited to be part of this year, and I think it'll be a real nice addition to our community.
All right. Brings us to council comments. Let's start down this end this month.
Well, I'm glad to see, on behalf of Mr. Malik, that we're going to make a decision on septic. Just kidding. No, another good meeting. Thank you, council.
Nedrow.
Well, happy Valentine's Day, everybody, Saturday.
Yeah, it's true.
And sorry to see Officer Ayers go. That's it.
Sequence.
I too wish everyone a joyous and happy Valentine's. I was happy to see that part of their work on that bridge over there, we've incorporated our DPW to do some of the work there. A couple months ago, it was on the agenda. Has the administrative committee made any decisions, or is this something that will be discussed at council in full about the in-house work?
Yeah, well, we've continued on the review. We've got a fairly extensive list of each of the activities that goes under their cost, under each cost center. We've been reviewing that in terms of hours billed against each of those cost centers to build out kind of a matrix of, okay, here's where they spend their time, here's what this is. Next administrative committee, which is Friday morning, we're going to review the further work we've had done on that. I would expect us to be pretty ready to present back to council, maybe at the next council meeting or a work session in March. So,
thank you.
Stack.
Not really much to add. Well, one thing, David Lau was appointed to the 52-1 by Governor Snyder.
Our former state representative in
Yeah.
this district.
So good luck to him, and good luck to Ken Ayers. He was nice to have around. He was a nice guy. Nice and big, too. You know, somehow he was real nice to have around. Yeah. That's it.
Again, sad to see Officer Harris leave. Hopefully we get good replacement. And that's it. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
And for me, I wanted to mention, in addition to Officer Arrow's leaving, next week is, next Wednesday, I believe, is Judy Whittle's final day as an office assistant upstairs. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank her for the work she's been here. think, about as long as I've lived in the village now, so.
Over 14 years.
Yeah, so almost, we almost came into the village together. And done a lot of really good work on a lot of projects. I think all of you who have worked with her sort of behind the scenes know she's really given a lot to the village over the years, so I really want to wish her best of luck in her retirement.
Motion to adjourn?
Support.
Motion Sikowitz, second Nedrow. Further
For the
discussion?
night.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Here, we are.
I'll switch it.